Hey y'all, and welcome to the 42nd episode of the Yarn This podcast. I'm Shama, Jessie's Girl 84 on Ravelry, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find my Yarn This group on Facebook. We haven't been active for a long time though. But if this is your first time watching, thanks so much for giving me a chance. If you're one of my returning yarnies, thanks so much for coming back. It means more than you know. Today is Wednesday, July 13th, 2022. And it's been over a year and a half since our last podcast. Had a lot of things happen in my life, some really positive, some pretty awful. I'll get into that later because right now we're going to talk about the knitting. And in case you're just not interested in the rest, we'll get back to that at the end in 1 week. 1 week, this section, not 7 days from now. Okay, here we go. So right now, I've got three things that are actively being worked on, really two things actively being worked on. One of them is the Sea Swell Shawl by Stephen West. Since the last time I podcast, I have gotten obsessed with Stephen West. I was working on Slipstravaganza the last time. I finished it, and I'll talk about that later. But then I become obsessed with his designs. Not all of them are things that I would knit, but I'm trying to buy all the ones that I think at some point in the next 120 years I might get to. Anyway, so Sea Swell had a draw for me, I guess because of the blue yarn he used. I'm really bad about judging a pattern by the color. I either love the color and think, oh, I could knit that, and then when I go back and look at it again, I realize that no, I really don't like the pattern, I just like the yarn. Or I've seen things that I hated, went back and looked and realized it was the color, and I actually love the pattern itself. So I'm really bad about that. I should grow up, but it's just how I am, I guess, about things like color. Anyway, but the Sea Swell shawl attracted me because it was knit in blue by him, and blue's my favorite color, but it also turns out that I do love this pattern. So let me grab my shawl. Sorry, it's down here. And I'll show you, I'm on my second color. I had a little bit of a difficult time getting started with this. It's not at all difficult, but I was having a hard time with figuring out exactly what he meant at one point. Now, I did get it figured out. I went and found a video that he made, not specifically about this pattern, but about this one thing. I don't want to talk about what it is because it's a paid-for pattern, but if you should decide to knit this and you come upon a problem, I don't mind to answer the question, or you can look and see one of his videos. Anyway, I didn't finish the row, and I haven't worked on it in a few days, really. But here's what I've gotten done so far. Let's see. I don't know. I should have gotten on and finished the row. I just wasn't thinking. Here's what it looks like so far. You can see that it's got this pattern with it makes it look like waves. That's where I was having my problem, my issue in the beginning. But anyway, like I said, I figured it out. And I'll show you the yarns I'm using instead of holding this. The first yarn I'm actually finished with using it, and I used almost an entire ball. And this is by Allie of Savvy Skeins. And this is in her, well, I should just look here instead of looking at the ball. The colorway is Cyclone. This is all that I've got left out of that skein. You can see all the speckles in this. It's beautiful, beautiful yarn. Anyway, this is all that's left of this first little ball, or the first skein. Then my second color, which is that blue, is this. Oh, look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? And, you know, I buy single skeins a lot. I'm sure I've talked about this in the past just because I love it. But then I end up getting to use it when I do something like a Stephen West shawl or something that I have multiple skeins maybe a couple of skeins of one, and I find something that requires maybe 2 of the main color and then several others, and I just pull a bunch together. Anyway, this one is in her Sensible Sock Base again, and this is Weekend Blues. And oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say this is Savvy Skeins. This is also Allie's. And the third color, hold on one second, let me put this back. I don't know why I took it out. The third color was dyed by the husband of the girl that owns Modern Skein, and his name escapes me right now. The name of his yarn is Red Stag Fiber, and this is his Cottage Sock and Her Majesty's Navy. This is just a pretty much solid navy. He has an amazing color sense, and I buy a ton of his yarn when well, we've moved. That's one of the big things that's happened. This is my new craft room, and I'll show you. But when I unpacked my yarn, I decided to divide it up by dyer as much as possible, because I do have quite a few from certain dyers, and it turns out I had way more of his yarn than I even realized. Anyway, so this is the Sea Swell by Stephen West. It's a lot of fun, and it's got short rows, but they're very easy. Once you get into the rhythm of it, it's really very easy. And I'm ready to get back to it, but I'm working on a Christmas in July knit along right now with Kay Jones from Bakery Bears. She designed a couple of patterns. Well, I'm going to pause you. Okay, sorry. So Kay designed 2 Christmas patterns and decided to release them to do a Christmas in July knit along. The first one is called the Christmas Tide Cowl, and she designs both of these to use with Advent calendars. So this one is a cowl, and she does really long cowls, and even though where I live is warmer, I do get a lot of use out of these because they're not scratchy when you use a soft yarn, and I think it's a beautiful cowl pattern, but that's not what I'm working on. Ooh, orange. That's not what I'm working on. What I'm working on is the second pattern that she designed, called the Tinsel Socks. Tinsel Socks. Oh, I love the way she designed this picture. It's so amazing. And again, this is for using with your Advent calendar. Of course, it's a paid-for pattern. Both of these are. But I'm so excited. Well, I kind of wanted to use some Advent yarn, but then I've had this mini skein set by, let me go back here to my Ravelry page. Sorry, I'm obviously out of practice. Oh yeah, that's right. Crystal Sky hand dye. I've had a mini skein kit from her for a long time, and I originally got it to knit another pattern packet by Kay Jones a few years ago. It was another cowl, and I don't think I've ever actually knitted that cowl. But anyway, so I think there were 7 skeins in there, but I pulled out 5. And I decided to go in what I felt like was more of a dark to light color. Probably didn't get it right. I should have taken a black and white photo. It doesn't matter. These don't have color names. This was just this pack. Again, I can't remember what it's called. But here's a green, like a light green. Then the next color I used was this purple. The third color was this blue. Oh, I love this blue. I'm sure because it's been a few years, I can't find these colors. I don't know that she still dyes them, but I wouldn't mind having them. Then the pink. And then the white. Now, the color that I'm using for the heel, toe, and cuff, I believe it's Sterling, and this was designed by my friend Kim. You remember me talking about her, and I'm sure that most of the people that are watching this know me anyway, but I'm sure you remember that Kim had passed away at the end of September in 2022. So I'm kind of being careful when I knit with her yarns now because there is no more. But anyway, I'm using this for the heel, toe, and cuff, And like I said, it's called sterling. It's a beautiful sterling silver. Let me see. You can kind of see the sparkles. This doesn't do it justice. It looks more gray. The actual yarn has more of a silver look to me. But anyway, so these, I've actually gotten to the heel turn on the first sock. I'm taking way too long. I should be finished with this sock by now. But here it is. So here's the sterling, and then of course the order of the little mini skeins. She suggested doing one stripe of each color, but I weighed what was left after I got to the end here of all the colors, and I had way more than 75% left. So I went 2 more, and then when I got the heel flap done, this is actually the 8.5 inches I normally do. So I'm turning I turned the heel here, and I'm fixing to do the gusset stitches pickup. I normally do a short row heel and prefer that, but I wanted to have a little extra length up the back of my heel simply for the color of the length of the leg. I can't even talk today. Sorry, y'all. My little insulated mug is Arnie and Carlos. They sold these last Christmas. This is them and their Volkswagen Beetle with a Christmas tree on top. I love this. I carry it everywhere, and I left it at my mom's a couple of weeks ago, and I just got it back this week, and I was glad to get it back. I have other insulated mugs, but I really love this one. Anyway, so I want to get these socks done, and I'm probably fixing to really take off on them because I've just been kind of trying to get some things in order, which I'll talk about at the end here, and I've been working on very slowly. Anyway, the other thing that I'm really not actively working on right now are the morning coffee socks. Most of the patterns it seems like I knit are either Kay Jones or Stephen West anymore, but this is actually Crazy Sock Lady. Morning coffee socks. I started these a while back. Yeah, back in April. But again, that will go to moving and everything that I'm going to talk about later. But the 2 skeins that I have for this are, one of them in particular is going back a long way. This is Deep Stash. Both of these were dyed by Brazen Stitchery. This is their Paparazzi sock base, and this is Evil Queen, and it's red and purple and sparkly. I couldn't resist this when I first saw it. The other one, and this is the contrast color for the heel, toe, and cove, which I had used in something else. Maybe Stephen West shawl even. This is Violet Beauregard, and obviously I bought, sorry, I'm at the table. I bought this for the Willy Wonka reference. I love Willy Wonka. Anyway, so here's the sock. It's got little micro stripes, and I absolutely love this pattern. I love the yarn with it. I love everything about it, and I'm excited to get back to it as soon as I finish these socks. So those are the things that I'm actively working on. I'm always working on preemie hats. In 2021, I didn't knit maybe 1 or 2. But at the end of 2020, my friends that take them to the neonatal unit got the virus the day before they were going to take them. They're fine, but they couldn't take them that year, so they still had the ones left over from the year before. And so I kind of had I had maybe 2 or 3 or 4 that I actually knitted at the end of last year, but I'll have a little stack for them to take again this year. I'm also always working on Arnie and Carlos eggs, Easter eggs, and maybe I'll put some pictures up at the very end because I've knitted. I didn't get all 12 knitted this year, but I think I've gotten 8 or 9 of them, so I'm getting pretty close. I've still got my Easter tree up, and I need to get those eggs done because they're fun to knit, and I like having them all done. Anyway, and Arnie and Carlos Christmas ornaments, but I haven't worked on one in a while. But I'm ready to get back to them because getting closer and closer to the big day. I love, as you know, I love Christmas. Okay, over the last year and a half, and I'm sure this is not going to quite cover every single thing that I've knitted, but these are some of the bigger things. And I'm going to talk about a couple of things, maybe 2 or 3 things a week that I've knitted, finished up over this last year and a half. One thing is, and let me go back to my Ravelry here so I can talk about them. One of them is, I'm so sorry, I'm going all the way back, y'all, to the beginning of 2021. Here we go. So I'm going to talk about Slipstravaganza first. I actually started it in October of 2020. And I was really doing a good job, I thought, staying up. I just can't knit as much, and I'm not as fast a knitter as a lot of people. But then I had some things that came up, and getting ready for Christmas, Arnie and Carlos's ornaments, and there's been a knit along with Dan and Kay with their Patreon group the last 2 years, I think. So I got distracted with those and got away from the Slipstravaganza, sorry. Anyway, I ended up coming back to it, but not until the summer of 2021. And I got it done pretty quickly. We were going on a trip last end of July, 1st of August, to go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I wanted to have this done by then, which I will talk about that trip at the end. But anyway, so here is my Slipstravaganza. I am super duper in love with this. I know that when people got through with it, they said, you know, they would never wear it. It's kind of out there. It's kind of weird for them. But, yeah, I'm not the kind of person that thinks something's too weird. I mean, I picked these bright colors because I love bright colors and I love wearing bright colors. And so, anyway, it's a lovely shawl. The first time I blocked it, I didn't pin it out all the way. Somebody said they didn't, and it was great. Well, it was tiny. I mean, not tiny, but comparatively speaking, it wasn't that big. And I ordered myself some blocking wires. I had never used them, and also the blocking pins, you know, the wide things that you can. I'll show them to you at some other point. Not today, though. And I washed it, and I laid it out on my blocking mats, and I put the blocking wires in, and I pulled it, and I stuck in the blocking pin things, and wow, it made it so much bigger. It didn't lose anything by doing that. I've had that happen one other time a long time ago. Y'all might remember when I did the campsite shawl. It's one of my favorite shawls I've ever done, but it was super squishy, and I laid it out and blocked it, and then it wasn't nearly as squishy. I still love it, but the squishy is gone. Anyway, so that's Slipstravaganza. I used Beaumont Yarn Company, her Fiber Fun Retreat colorway. I'll show you those real fast, sorry. Let's see. That's this kind of purpley color right here. Another one was the Less Traveled Yarn Outspoken in Champagne Diva, which is this. Oh, that's a yarn company I've discovered. I really like their yarns. Savvy Skein Sensible Sock Color Bomb, which was the gray that I used all throughout it. It had little pops of color all through it. And, oh, this is where I used Violet Beauregard. Violet Beauregard, which was, is this, that can't be right. Violet Beauregard? Well, I'm not seeing it. Oh, it is. It's this, I guess. That's right here. It looks bluer in here than it does. So anyway, yeah, I love this, and I wear it and take it with me, and oh, I love it so much. And actually, the first thing, oh, hang on one second, let me get my chair leg here on my stuff. I'm sitting at a table that's a lot higher than the one that I used to record at. This is actually a sewing table for cutting out, so it's kind of high. Anyway, this is my first time back, so I'm just kind of working on things. We'll see what happens. The first thing that I actually finished at the beginning of 2021 that I had started in 2020 was the Mother of the Groom shawl that I was going to wear to my son's wedding. And when we lost the wedding venue, I'm sure most of you are, because you're my friends anyway in real life, remember that we lost the venue, and the place that we ended up having the wedding had no air conditioning in May because it was during the pandemic and nothing was you couldn't find anything, and it was 3 weeks before the wedding when we found out that our venue was not going to let us come. So anyway, I decided not to do this because it was going to be a little too warm to wear wool. Probably would have been just as well off, but I wore my cousin's shawl, so that meant a lot. The colors that are in this, here's what it ended up looking like. And this is, oh, I'm sorry, this is Huhui, I think is how you pronounce it, by Joji Locatelli. It is a very shallow shawl, but it's also a very wide shawl. It's beautiful. I love this so much. And the blue, you know, the blue always makes things so much better for me. But the colorways that I used were Twinkle by Kim. Which one is Twinkle? Red Stag Fiber Estate Fingering Sharon's Palette, which I think is this multicolored one here. And then the last one is Farmer's Daughter Fibers Fox. What did that Foxy Lady? I don't know what I did here. And I'm not going to be able to figure it out. I messed it up. But anyway, so here it is. This is my beautiful Huhui. I'm taking way too long, y'all. I'm so sorry. And then the last thing that I'm going to talk about that I finished since the last time I recorded, and I should probably just save this, but I'm not going to, was Shawlography. This was last fall's Knit Along, Mystery Knit Along with Stephen West. And both years we were able to go to our friend's place to cast on and have a cast on party. And anyway, it was a lot of fun spending the weekend with the girls and getting to work on this together, and whatever problems we had at the beginning, we could talk about it. At the time that I did this, we were not living in our house, and so I had to pull out my yarn that was in big boxes in storage, and I'm going to talk about that. I keep saying I'm going to talk about this stuff at the end, and I am. And just, I shopped from my stash for this, and now I can't find the, hold on, no, here we go. I wanted to give this a lot of color. So the colors that I used were, once again, Brazen Stitchery, Harmony Sock, Violet Beauregard, Chaos Fiber, Tonal, Chaos Fiber Company, I'm sorry, Tonal, in Pewter, Dieris, I think that's how his name is pronounced. Once again, somehow I messed this up. I didn't get his colorway name. Oh, I don't think there was a colorway name. It was a blue yarn. When we met this guy, it was our last Fiber Festival in 2019, and he was a young guy, married with one or two kids, and this was his first time selling his yarn, and he didn't have a huge selection. And I'm sure if he's still dying, and I hope he is, that, you know, he's learned things, but he did a beautiful job with his yarn. I'm just talking about like his labeling and stuff. I'm not being critical. Okay, the next one is Pucker, and this is just a Knit Picks Stroll Brights colorway, and the last one is a Madeline Tosh Light and Glitter translation. So here's the Violet Beauregard. Let me try and find, well, it's the purple here in between. It's the purple here. That's the Violet Beauregard. Then the Pewter by Chaos Fiber is this right here, this gray silver color. Oh, it's so beautiful. The Dieris blue is probably this right here. The Knit Pick Stroll Brights and Pucker is this bright pink, which I love. And then the Madeline Tosh Merino Light and Glitter is this right here, and it's a lot sparklier than it shows up. This is a beautiful. Here's that with the Dieris dark blue. Those just came out so beautifully together. Anyway, this was the first time that I did any crud. Pause. Brioche. Brioche is the word. I did brioche for the first time on this shawl, and it's not perfect. Not at all perfect, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to doing some more, and I'm going to talk to you about that at the end here. about an upcoming pattern when I get these things finished. Anyway, I've got a lot of things still to talk about that I finished during the time. I'm going to mark these off during the time that I was not recording, and I'll get back to talking about one or two every week until I'm caught up. Okay, now the final countdown. What's coming up? One thing that's coming up is Flamingo Flavor, and this is by Suzanne Knits, and I'm going to talk about her in a few minutes. This is a triangle brioche shawl, and I tried to start this almost a year ago. I had just been very, very sick. I had never done it brioche before. We were going on a trip, and I just don't think that was the time to try to do brioche. But this is the Flamingo Flavor shawl. Let me see, how am I getting this in with here? There we go. By Suzanne Knits. It's a beautiful, beautiful shawl, and I actually have the kit. Since I started it, but didn't get anywhere with it, I still have the kit. Here it is. I have the names of the yarn inside each one. But I think these went really well together, and I'm excited, really excited about getting back to this, because I think now that I've done that brioche, I'll be able to be successful with this one this time. Oh, I'm so sorry. I know this is like I'm just starting over for the first time. The next thing that I want to talk about is the Winter Lights shawl, and I'm trying to think. I know that I have that somewhere already pulled up in a kit, but I can't remember where. But anyway, that's another Stephen West shawl that's going to be beautiful. I'm using like kind of blue-greeny things, and it's, oh, some greens with blue-green in it. It's really beautiful. I can't wait to show you that. And then, oh yeah, I was going to talk about the Tinsel Socks, but I've started them since I started my show notes here. Okay, I know there are a lot of other things that are going to be coming up that I'm going to talk about. Things that I want to knit, things that I finished. Hopefully something new to talk about that I'm working on next time, but we'll see. Anyway, we are family. Back to during all of lockdown, I know I told you that we first did Zoom meetings with my knitting friends, and then we started meeting up outside of a Starbucks. You couldn't go in. You couldn't even go to use the restroom. But we sat out there that summer until it just got too hot, and then we started going to each other's houses. And honestly, ever since then, we've just been, for the vast majority of the time, meeting in each other's houses. Our group shrank. We had, our group shrank a bit, but most of us are still, or a few of us are still hanging out together. And I think getting together in each other's houses has really brought us even closer together, because we can talk about things that you might not talk about with a bunch of people around you in a restaurant. But anyway, these girls, I love them dearly and don't know what I would do without them. But since the last time we talked, we took a trip to Galveston last fall, I believe. And we celebrated a couple of birthdays, and we had a really great time together. We went and ate at this little kind of rinky-dink seafood place, but it was really good. It was just this tiny little place. Did I say we rented an Airbnb? And it was a lot of fun. And I know it was still hot because a couple of us, most of the girls went down to the beach, walked around, but a couple of us stayed in the air conditioning. And I'm one of those ones because I just don't do summer heat. I was born in Texas, raised in Texas, never lived anywhere but Texas. But the summers are just, I can't deal with heat. Anyway, I also said that we went to our friend's house. I hope she doesn't mind if I mention her name, Liz. We went to her weekend house to do the cast-on for the Shawlography this year. And it is such a fun, relaxing place. And we were able to go back again for the first Fiber Festival of the year. This is an outdoor one. And it's at a winery called Blue Mule Winery, but they also dye yarn. And this is an outdoor fiber festival, and they set their booths up. Most of them have little tents over them. I think everybody does that I can think of. And it's very windy. They've had to stake their tents down and put things on their yarn display or whatever they're selling to keep things from blowing over. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, and we stayed at Liz's that weekend too, because it's only about 45 minutes from that place to the Texas Yarn Lovers event. Now we have a couple of three other things coming up, honestly. At the end, I believe it's in August. I've got to look it up. We've got Texas Yarn Trail coming up, and those are yarn stores kind of in our area, but they do branch out quite a ways away. It's over a 2-week period, and we usually kind of take that time. We go mostly on the weekends, but if there's one near us, we might go during the week or whatever. We did that last year, and actually they had it in 2020 as well, so that has continued to go on, which is a lot of fun. This is going to be the first year back for DFW Fiber Fest, and it used to be in the spring, but they've decided to move it to the fall. I believe it's September 25th through the 27th, and a bunch of us are going to go up that weekend as well. We're going to stay in a hotel again, which we haven't done in a while, and we're looking forward to it. It's going to be so much fun. And then the last one of this year is going to be the East Texas one, and it was in Lindale for a few years, and then they moved it to, I can't think the town, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to happen until November, and so we've got that coming up. Now, you know what I think? No, I'm going to talk to you for a minute about Sosu Knits, S-O-S-U. Her name is Suzanne Summers. I believe she's in Germany. And I came across her patterns, and I don't remember how I found her. But she designed that flamingo flavor shawl I just showed you. And she's got a lot of really, really cute patterns. Of course, she's adorable, and that helps. Her hair's always different colors, and she kind of has like a little bob. See if I can find a picture quickly and show you. Anyway, I recommend that you go look at some of her patterns. She's got t-shirts, sweaters, cardigans, hats, I believe, shawls. I'm going to pull her up here on Ravelry. S-O-S-U, Sosu. Anyway, I think you might find something if she's got your style. You might be able to find something of hers that you really like. I actually bought the yarn for this. It's called the Lizzie sweater, and it's got brioche up here, and then the rest of it is solid. But you can do short sleeved, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a short sleeve one, I think. I've gotten a little braver. I still want to lose some weight, and I'm trying not to knit too many clothes, but I've gotten a little bit braver. I knitted a top, which I'll talk about in another episode. That's one of the things that I finished. But I bought the yarn to do the Lizzie sweater. If only I could be as cute as Suzanne. Anyway, that's coming down the pike eventually as well. So Sosu Knits, don't forget her. I'll put a link. Now I'm going to get back to my life. So if you're only here for the knitting festivals, whatever, you might want to bow out now. But I'm going to talk about my life for a minute and things that have gone on. I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version. It's going to be some sad stuff, and I'm sorry, but it's what happened in my life, and it's been a massive part of my life ever since then. And anyway, let's just get to it. So the thing that happened, the reason that I haven't podcasted, is my dad died. I know you know that if you watched me before, that he had gotten cancer, and things were looking really, really good. At the end of October, I believe, and maybe I even talked about this last time I podcasted, but it's been forever, so I'm going to talk about it. He had come to have a scan, and everything seemed good, and he told me, I haven't felt this good in years, that day that he had that scan. We ate out, they went back home, and he woke up that night to go to the bathroom and nearly hit the floor with pain. Well, the cancer was back, and this time it wrapped around the ureter, I believe is what it's called, that connects your kidneys to your bladder, I believe. Sorry. Anyway, it had wrapped around the ureter. It was causing swelling in his legs. it was causing problems with his kidneys. So we went to the doctor. They ended up not coming here on Thanksgiving Day, and we had people that day, so we had to have it. Daddy said, "Don't worry about it." But there were things to me that didn't seem quite right with him. He was saying things that weren't normally the way he talked, but at the same time, I knew he didn't feel well, so I wasn't panicked about it. But the swelling, we went like the week before Thanksgiving. So the rest of that week and through Thanksgiving week, the swelling in his feet and legs wasn't going down, and my dad was skinny. His feet and legs didn't swell. If I travel or if I sit a long time with my feet hanging down, my feet and legs are going to swell. But Daddy's did not. So it was very concerning. So the Monday after that Thanksgiving in 2020, I called his doctor, and they were like, "Bring him in tomorrow. We want to see him." So I went that afternoon to their house, spent the night, and we got up and came back here the next morning for him to see the doctor. And she said, yeah, this is causing problems, very severe problems with your kidney. She said, "We can reverse this, but we need to get you in the hospital." And he was like, I don't want to leave my wife. I can't go in the hospital. And I said, "We're going in the hospital." I just kind of had to step in and just say, this is what's going to happen. And then she asked, "Do you want to go home and pack and come back in the morning?" I said, "No, we're not going to even discuss this. We're going to put him in the hospital as soon as you can get him in, and I'll go home and get things that he needs." So that's what I did. We put him in within the hour. He was wobbly, but I also knew that his feet and legs were swollen, and so when he was trying to walk, he kind of was not on balance. And these were things that now, looking back, I should have known. Things were really, really bad. But even his doctor didn't think so. So they put him in the hospital for a week. And they kept calling me every day, "We need to keep him in. We need to get his kidneys functioning properly. We need to get this fluid out of him. We need to build his strength back up because he's been laying here for a week and he's lost a lot of strength." Well, all of a sudden, this hospitalist, who did not work for our oncologist, had the nurse call me and say, "Are you ready to come get him?" And he wasn't ready to go home. He couldn't even stand up on his own. But they sent him home. And by the end of that week, he was back in the hospital because we thought there was some more problems. At this point, they had hooked him up to they had put some bags outside of his body initially when they put him in the hospital. And we thought that there was a problem. So we put him back in the hospital. And he was that was on a Friday night. I could tell over the weekend that things were not good. And they were telling me, that he had an infection, and they were really, truly doing everything they could to treat him. But by Tuesday morning, his oncologist called. "Sorry." And when she called, I said, "It's okay, I know, I can see." By Wednesday night, they had him in hospice care. And on December 21st, which was the following Monday, he passed away late that night. While he was in hospice, he would communicate with us, but you could tell that his mind was not there. His kidneys had just shut down, and there was nothing they could do about it. So then we had to deal with Mom, the fact that she really depended on him to care for her. And so for most of the rest of that month, most of January, I stayed with her there at their house. I got to come home a little bit, but mostly I was there with her. And then she was going to move in with my brother and his family, and they had to get their house fixed up. So they moved in with her while their house was getting ready for her. In the meantime, and I'm sorry this is dragging on, I'm trying to give you an abbreviated version, but it's kind of hard when I don't want to just kind of glaze over this. This was, losing my dad is one of the hardest things that I've ever been through in my life, and I miss him every single day. I'm not sorry that he's not suffering anymore, and I fully believe that he's in heaven. So I don't wish that he were here suffering. I know that he's better off there, but I still miss him, selfishly miss him every day. But back to my mom. So my mom ended up getting an infection in her stump and ended up in the hospital. And they put her house on the market, and it sold very quickly because that was during the time that everybody's houses were just selling so quickly. They ended up needing to put her in an assisted living place that was run by a friend of ours. And the infection in her stomach came back again, and it took a long time to get her healed up. It's not anybody's fault. She's getting amazing care there. She's got home health that comes and checks on her there. And despite it being assisted living, she gets a good bit of care. They love her. They're kind to her. But at the point that the infection in her leg came back, she really lost the ability to walk. Insurance sent physical therapy, and then they were like, she's not doing what we expect her to do. You know how insurance is. And they finally said, we're not going to send therapy anymore. Well, where she lives, for legal reasons, they cannot give her therapy. If she falls, because it's assisted living, they could get in trouble. But she's really okay with her situation. She loves living there. She keeps saying, I don't want to live anywhere else. And she has to have a good bit of help. So she's happy there. They're able to do what she needs. And so it has really worked out really well for everybody, to be honest. I go and see her about every couple of weeks. But that's where it stands with my parents. My dad's gone. My mom's in this assisted living place, and she wants to stay in the town where she lived. Now, she can no longer leave. She can't go to worship anymore. But there's nothing that can be done about that. People were willing to come pick her up. There's nobody to blame for any of this. It just is what it is. But that's been the biggest, saddest thing that's happened. But anyway, in March, after Daddy passed away and my brother and his family were staying there with Mom, we decided to put our house on the market. So my younger son, Kelby, and I started packing up the house that we'd been living in for 17 years. Needless to say, it was very emotional. It was physically exhausting. It was emotionally exhausting. One of the first places that we packed up was the schoolroom. And I know that I've probably told those of you that don't know me in person that I homeschooled my boys from kindergarten until they finished high school. So for 16 years I homeschooled. Packing up that room was extremely emotional. It would have been under any other circumstances, but the fact that Daddy had just passed away made it more emotional. There were things in there that had been given to us by my parents. Just the memories of homeschooling my boys and the fact that they're grown up now and I can no longer homeschool. I love my life now. I loved my life then. I didn't have any regrets that I was with them all the time. Being a mom is the greatest job ever for me. But anyway, so we packed up, and it took us a couple of months to pack up because we didn't do it just full time. We were able to put our house on the market through a friend of ours, and we sold it very quickly. It needed a lot of work, so we sold it to some people who fixed it up and flipped it. We moved into an apartment because we weren't quite ready to make an offer on a house yet. So we did that. The apartment was actually a really nice kind of palate cleanser. We just sat through the summer. One thing is I did not want to move in the heat again because we moved into the apartment, I believe, in June, and it was excruciatingly hot. So I said, I don't want to move in the heat again. I don't want to even start looking for a house until the fall. Well, there were a number of things that came up so that we really weren't able to start looking for a house until the end of the year, which was honestly fine. It gave me a chance to kind of physically and emotionally just not have a lot to do, trying to come to grips with what had happened with Daddy. So we were having knit night a lot every week, meeting up with the girls, having fun together, doing things together. I was having fun with my family. I was going to visit my mom as much as I could, which is, like I said, just about every other week. And we got through Christmas, which was very uneventful this year, and I'm not sorry because it felt like the first Christmas without Dad, even though the first one was technically, he died Christmas week the year before. So I had been exposed to the virus the week of Christmas, so we ended up not even going to see Mom until after Christmas. I didn't get sick, nobody else got sick, but it just it forced it to be a low-key day, and I was not sad about that. Well, the first week in the year, we started looking for a house, and being in Houston, we've had houses that flooded. We have neighborhoods that really are not in great shape, and I don't consider myself old, but as we're getting older, we don't want to be in a neighborhood that's in bad shape where we could be in danger. And our old neighborhood was kind of like that. Sorry, I bumped the table. But we found a house and we made an offer on it and we didn't get accepted. And looking back, I'm so very thankful that that offer was not accepted. The neighborhood was fine, but there were things that would have had to have been done to that house that I'm glad we didn't have to do now. The flooring had to be replaced. It wasn't an option. But we lost that house, and then I found another house, and I texted it to my real estate agents. They're husband and wife, and they go to worship with us. And I said, what do you think about this house? And if there's anything wrong, just don't tell me. So anyway, we came and looked at it, and honestly, it was the house. It was the house. I mean, I'm always scared. What if? And we made an offer on it. We went up a little bit more than what we wanted to, but it's in a great neighborhood. It's in a neighborhood I've actually wanted to live in since we moved to Houston. I'm 3 minutes from one friend. I'm 6 minutes from another friend. And I'm closer to other people as well. We're closer to worship. We're closer to the grocery stores I love to use. I am so happy with the area. And the neighborhood is just, I feel really good about it. We have nice neighbors that live around us, and I feel completely safe here. I know that no area is safe. I mean, I watch true crime all the time. Anyway, so it turned out there were a couple of people that wanted to invest in this house, fix it up, which it didn't need a lot of work, and flip it and resell it. Well, the man who owned it, his wife had passed away, and he wanted to sell it to a family, and that's how we ended up getting this house. I'm going on longer than I intended, but I'm going to finish the story. We had a lot of stress worrying about the house. Even after they accepted our offer, there are still things that can happen. And we were so worried, and we'd been through so much that we closed on the house on February 11th, and actually on the 9th, on the 9th of February, our older son, who's married and doesn't live with us, well, didn't live with us, got sick. On Thursday night, my husband got sick. We closed on the house on Friday, and on Saturday, my husband was, like, he'd felt better on Friday and started feeling really bad again on Saturday. I got sick, started running fever. Our younger son got sick. On Sunday, our daughter-in-law got sick. I feel like it was the stress of everything with the house. But in the meantime, we had hired somebody to come in and repaint the entire house. And if you're interested in seeing a house, I actually do have a before and after tour, what it looked like before it was painted and then after. Was it a tour that I gave? Now I can't remember if I had finished unpacking. Anyway, I'll go back and look. It took me 3 weeks. Most of that time was actually the craft room because there are all these teeny tiny little pieces and I had to figure out where to put everything. And I'll give you a craft room tour. I'll make that a separate video from anything else. I'll give you a craft room tour in the next few days. But we got everything situated. We were still feeling really sick when we moved in. We also had the house exterminated and the carpets cleaned before we moved in. But we moved in and got situated. We moved in on February 26th, which is the day before our older son's birthday. And I finished unpacking on March 19th, which is the day after my birthday. My goal was to be finished by my birthday, and technically I was unpacked. The only thing that was left to do was hang our family pictures up in the stairwell. We went out and did some fun stuff on the 19th to celebrate my birthday, and then when we came back, Kelby and I, my younger son, hung every picture. We got all the pictures hung up. So I was done before I went to bed on March 19th, 21 days after we moved in. I haven't hung my pop figures up yet, but I bought some acrylic shelves. I guess I can't truly say that I'm done, but as far as really getting things unpacked, it was done. I am in love with this house. Is it perfect? Well, no. During this time of housing prices skyrocketing, there's no way that you can get a perfect house unless you just have an unlimited budget, which we didn't. There's really one big thing that I want to change, and it's probably going to be quite a while before we can do it, But it's fine until then. I'm happy. I'm so thankful that I have this house. I have a place for my friends to come. Our son and daughter-in-law want to buy a house. But in order to buy a house, it was easier for them to move in with us. There's room for them here. They've only been here not even 2 weeks yet. But anyway, I'm just so thankful and happy. I'm truly happy. I miss my dad every day. And I'm never going to quit missing him. And I've had some anxiety lately, and I think it's just sort of a buildup of everything, but I'm working on that. And I think things are going to be really, really great from now on. Life is never going to be perfect. There's going to be sadness and tragedy and loss. There are going to be moments of anxiety, and there are going to be, frustrations. You're going to argue with the people that you love. But my life is a happy, good life, and I'm very thankful, and I'm working harder on myself every day to be more of what I should be, to be more thankful and grateful. At the end of every year, at the beginning of every year, the girl that I work out with, she's from Australia. Oh my goodness. I'll put a link. Up to the Beat Fit. Gina is her name. And at the beginning of every year, she does a walk into the year, whatever the year is. And she tells you to find a word of intention and to remind yourself of it every day. Well, I bought this bracelet. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see here. Off Amazon. And it says, resilient and optimistic. And I'm truly trying to be that. Okay. I've gone on for nearly an hour now. I'm going to say 2 quick things. During the time that I haven't recorded, and actually this is the thing for me, I love organization. And I'm thinking about from time to time when I've come up with a really great organization thing, I'm going to talk about it on here. And I have something right here in my craft room that I want to talk about and show you. And so I might add a little organization and or crafting section. And this was actually both. I've become obsessed with Dollar Tree. I've always loved to craft things, but I've really started doing some crafting things. So we'll talk about that a little bit here and there. My focus is going to be knitting, but I kind of want to expand, and I know I always say I plan to do this on a more regular basis. Now that I feel like my life is more settled than it has been in a very long time, I want to do this. I want to see y'all and talk to you. I want to expand what I'm doing. And I'm back and I'm ready to go. I want to thank you if you stuck with me through all of this absence. I would love it if you would subscribe if you haven't. Give me a like. And please tell your friends that love to talk about knitting about me. I'm not the most exciting. I'm not the most glamorous. I don't have the biggest stash. But I want to do things with y'all, for y'all, and I want to have a line of communication with y'all that we can talk about things. I want to bring my friends in, and I just want to grow my channel. But until I come back and show you my craft room, have a great day and knit on, y'all. I love y'all. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.